Hey, what's up, guys? It's Tom Clark over at TFC IV MMA, and we are back. We have a familiar face with us. We talked to him last month as well. UFC heavyweight Karl Williams. Karl, how are you, my man?
Doing well, just hanging out, book club meeting, and enjoying the time before fight week.
There we go. So I know I spoke to you briefly before fight week, just like this actually last time, ahead of UFC 287. You were obviously supposed to fight Chase Sherman on that card, and then it seemed about an hour before the fight, things got announced that the fight was no longer going to be going through. Can you kind of walk us through how that happened on April 8th last month?
I was sitting there, getting tested by USADA, my favorite people, and real good people, but yeah. So getting tested by USADA, they always catch me before the fight, so I was like, okay, I'm doing that stuff, taking the process, and my coaches walk in right before I'm like, I'm signing the paper. You have to, sign off on everything. It's real professional. So I'm doing all of that, and then my coaches walk in and they're just standing there. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Because I was actually supposed to start to get my hand taped, and tape was supposed to wrap my hands, and I was like, let me try to use the restroom for them. That way, once my hands are taped, I don't have to keep trying to run to the bathroom for them and all this stuff. I can just go straight into warming up and everything. So they walk in and I'm thinking that he's like rushing me, which he wasn't. He was like, take your time, do what you have to do. He's been in many rodeos more than me, So he's like, do your thing. He's accustomed to it. So I'm like, okay. So, but my coaches walk in, so I think that's what it is. And they're like, after I finish signing and doing everything, they're like, oh, the fight's canceled. I was like, wait, what? It was like, the fight's canceled. I was like, wait, what? I was like, you for real? It was like, yeah. I just started laughing. I was like, okay. I guess that's where we're at, And after that, just trying to figure out what is the next step. I'm like, it's fight day, so you can't. It's not like, oh, well, let's pull somebody in and you're gonna fight. So it's like, and then it's like an hour or so before the fight. So it's like, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of a tough situation. There's nothing really you can do because it came. I mean, I remember I was at work and I was leaving work at like 5:45 when the news got announced, 15 minutes before the card was about to start. So really
So even
late. So
before
it's
me.
not like they could have called anybody in. I mean, did the UFC compensate you for coming in though? Did they pay you for it?
Oh yeah, well, UFC stuff is once you show up to weigh-ins and you make weight and you do your job now. I think I don't know the behind the scenes stuff on his part. So I know as far as me, I did everything contractually that I was supposed to do. So I still, still did everything. I did what I was supposed to do. So they did what they said they were gonna do. And on my end.
There we go, man. Well, that's almost not too bad though. You go down there, you get called on a week, you go down there and you still get a check and you get the fight next month. I mean, how excited are you to have this fight in North Carolina? I know you're in the Carolinas yourself, so this is almost like a mini homecoming to you. I mean, how nice is it going to be to go out there in front of that Charlotte crowd for the UFC's return to North Carolina?
That's gonna be real nice. This is my second time fighting close to home. Right before I went on Contenders, I had a fight in Charlotte, North Carolina. I mean Columbia, North Carolina. I mean Columbia, South Carolina. Apologies, again talking too fast. But so had that fight, and it was a real good turnout. Had a lot of friends and family that support me. That's been around from the journey since amateurs and the early pro days were able to come out and watch me that wasn't able to watch me in a lot of other fights, but still, a lot of my neighbors, they used to have fight parties and different stuff. So having one close to home allows them the ability to, come out and watch me in person and on a grand stage. Like I said, they came and saw me on a smaller stage, but still it was a good arena. But now you're in the UFC, it's a whole different ball game of production. So they're able to come in and enjoy that process with me. So that I mean it's it's unbelievable. It's a good experience to have. It's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know the fight being canceled, that obviously stinks. You're wanting to get in there. But is it almost better now that you've had, I guess at this point, including the week that you took that fight on, you've had about 5 weeks to prepare for Chase Sherman now. So, I mean, I don't know if your game plan's changed at all, but has it been nice kind of having that almost full training camp to prepare for him this time?
Um, yeah, no, I'll say no, just on the fact that I'm always training to get better. So it helps for me have more time to get better, work on a few things. But if I didn't have the fight, I'll be still at the gym doing the same things, you know. So it helps as far as yeah, a little more time to get a little bit better, but it doesn't change too much because I'll have been like I went back to the gym even to get the fight. I took a week off after my fight and I went back to help, Chris Barnett get ready for that fight, and just for myself, I'm just training, I just went right back into my routine. And only reason it took me a week to do that because I live in South Carolina and I train out of Atlanta. So if I lived in Atlanta or lived in Vegas, I would have been right back to training that Monday, but just because of the travel and being away from my family so long, um, that's what caused me to not be able to jump back into training camp. But if you give me, no matter how short of a notice or whenever, I must still be training. So it, I just got better. So I got a little bit better than I would have been a couple weeks ago. So that's the biggest thing. But it wasn't and I said all that to say like it's not generated towards Chase Sherman. It's just generated towards me improving on MMA because I'm only 4 years into this. So every single day that you let me train or give me opportunities to get better and work with the great coaches that I have, it's not a good situation.
So I know you've trained last time we talked, you trained at ATT Lima there in Atlanta, and then you also were doing some training in Vegas. In this time, I mean, have you been doing all your training at ATT Lima, or did you make the flight out to Vegas at all, kind of in the last month to prepare for this fight?
Because of the time frame and being away from the home, being away from the house and the family for so long, I actually coached Danny. He's been one of my coaches this year. After being at Extreme, he ran my camp last time and it was a good situation. So he's on board. He's one of my coaches now. So he actually flew in and stayed with me in South Carolina. So we did all this camp in South Carolina just so I can be home and take care of some stuff at home. I had to rebuild a closet. I'm doing all kind. I've been away from home for most of the year, so I did most of my camp here. But Coach Danny came in, and then Coach Philippe, he's been my longtime boxing coach. He actually is here now. He came up yesterday, and he's going to stay with me until fight week. So I've been just having coaches stay with me at the home, and we just been getting it in here for
Yeah, that's
the.
kind of the best of both worlds. You get your training, but then also get to spend some quality time with the family.
Yes,
I'm down south too, so we're getting that warmer weather finally. So
yes, yes,
good time to hang out with the wife, the kids, all that
yeah.
kind of good stuff.
And then the parliament killed the coaches, so.
Oh yeah.
So you get that. Where are you located?
So I'm in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So I'm about 2 hours north of
Oh,
Atlanta.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Choo choo tile. There we go.
Yes, sir. But yeah,
Yeah,
I moved down here from up north, and my first summer, that pollen, it really hits you. I mean, it's
yeah.
different down here. So the heat definitely affects it. So I know you mentioned your coach Danny, Coach Felipe. I mean, are those two guys going to be in your corner? Kind of walk us through who's going to be in your corner in UFC Charlotte, man.
Coach Danny Davis from Extreme Couture. You'll probably see him in a few other UFC fighters corners. Just and then Coach Philippe. And then I have Jamie Griffin. He's been a good friend and sponsor for myself since the amateur days, and like I said, the semi early pro days. So he was here and available. So I asked him to jump on with me.
There we go, man. Well, that'll be pretty good. And there's a heavyweight main event in that one, which is going to be pretty good. I mean, you're going to be on that card. So with an impressive performance, I know those guys are both top 10. So maybe not eventually you'll be fighting, maybe not right away you'll be fighting those guys, but eventually down the line, that could be a matchup. You have Jairzinho Rosenstruck going up against Jailton Almeida, kind of a master striker versus a master grappler. Who are you picking
Yeah.
in that fight for the main event next week, man?
Oh man, I yeah. Dang, y'all always ask me to pick, but it's a 50-50. If you take, I mean, if he gets Rosenstrike down, I haven't seen him grapple too much. So, the grappler wins. But I mean, like you saw in, I forgot which Curtis Blades, Curtis versus Derek Lewis, you know, if if he just hits him with that one on that shot in, it's over, So you have that situation. So I try not to pick,
I get you. Yeah, it's a pretty close
So
fight.
yeah, and the skills, they're both equal and Rosenstrike can move pretty well, So it's not like he's just standing there lumbering right in front of you for an easy takedown. So he's moving. So the takedowns come harder if you actually the person actually is on their bike and moving around. So it's that's a toss up right there.
Yeah, it's going to be a great fight, that's for sure. And speaking of great fights, we got a big UFC card this weekend. We have UFC 288. The UFC makes its return to Newark, New Jersey at the Prudential Center. We've had plenty of great main events there before. Are you going to be tuning in tomorrow night?
Definitely tuning in,
And
especially
are
for the
there any
main
fights
event
on
stuff.
that card that kind of catch your eye? I know there's some heavyweight bouts kind of earlier on, and then obviously bantamweight's the main event with a huge fight. So anything on this card that kind of piques your interest, man?
I want to see the main event. I seen some stuff personally, and uh, this is one that I'll say I'm rooting for Sterling, because I seen him around the PI, um, during my first camp and different stuff, and his personality, and just watching some interactions from before. Um, there's one thing about selling a fight, and there's one thing about just being like, fight week. I understand you come in and you're trying to like boost yourself up for the fight week, but before fight week, if I see you at a mall, or I see you out doing something, there's no need for, even if we're scheduled to fight, there's no need for certain things. So I saw certain things at the PI. So I'm rooting for Sterling on this one. No matter what, win, lose or nothing, I still I saw his character and certain things, and me being new to the UFC, that I think this is even before my fight. How he acted, and also just like certain little interactions I've seen. So I'll be that's when I'll be like I'm rooting for him. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's funny that you mentioned that because I met Aljamain Sterling at UFC 273 Jacksonville, and he was one of those guys where watching him on TV, he always came off kind of brash, a little cringe with some little stuff. So I was always a fan of him, but never huge. But similar to you, like you see the guy in person. I met the guy after the second Yan fight, still humble as can be, and now I'm never going to root against this guy. Just
Yeah.
meeting the person, seeing how nice he is with those interactions. And I actually spoke with his coach, Ray Longo, ahead of this fight. And same thing with Ray. He said, this is one of the nicest kids you'll coach. So I'm with you. I'm really rooting for Aljamain this weekend. I think he gets it done too. I mean, you're at heavyweight where there can be a big size difference, but usually in the other weight classes where they're only 10, 15 pounds apart, you don't see these huge size differences, but he looks a lot bigger. I don't know if you saw the face off today. I mean, Aljamain looks quite
Yeah.
a bit bigger than Henry.
I mean, he's taller, but end of the day, and then you got to see how he rehydrates. But still, yeah, he is taller, so longer range, longer limbs. But you still have those matches at 205. You got the shorter 5'8", 5'9" guys that are fighting. And shoot, you look at Chris Barnett at heavyweight. So you still have those like size differences, but like you said, in the smaller weight classes is not that big weight wise, drastic. You're not coming in at 220, find a 265 guy that cut from 280. You'll find a guy that whatever he came down to still came in at 135, for the contractual weight. So that does help, because at 205, I mean at heavyweight, if you cut from like 300 or 290 something to 265, you're ever gonna feel it. But if you walk around at 270, 280, and I walk around at 220, 230 something, like a Stipe, or even like myself, 240, 230 something, you're gonna that weight difference just walking in is gonna be different. You're not cutting to 230 and then rehydrating back up. You're literally walking in 30 pounds heavier than me, and I just have to deal with it.
Yes, sir. 100%. Well, real quick before we wrap up, back to your fight. I mean, what's the official prediction from the man himself? I always like to get these when I talk to fighters. I mean, ideal world. How does this fight go?
Um, It might go the distance like Brisky. Ideal fight, go the distance, and similar performance. Work on a few things so it could look a little bit better. But um, I'm never looking for a knockout. If it comes, it comes. But I'm never looking for a knockout. We're in there for 15 minutes to showcase our talents. Some striking, some grappling, show off our cardio and different stuff. I might put my hands on my knees again. But other than that, yeah, I go in there and have fun. It's gonna be a fun fight. Hopefully, you guys enjoy the Brisky fight. Hopefully, I'll give you guys some nice highlight stuff, some nice things to talk about, and yeah, enjoy the night. It's
There
a
we
good, like you
go.
said, it's a good fight card. So that's a prediction: a fun fight, exciting fight. Yeah, I'm gonna get touched up a little bit. I'll try to do a little touching myself, and then we smile, shake hands, and come home.
There we go. And any sponsors, coaches, anyone you want to shout out before we finish up here, Karl?
Yeah, Barber Orthopedics, Family First Security, Triad Mechanics. For sponsorships, shout out to Coach Danny Davis for coming up, Coach Felipe for coming up, Jucal, Diego, for the day in, day out, Coach Devin and Coach Brentley. Yeah, and everybody at Extreme Couture, everybody at everybody at Extreme Couture, everybody at ATT Lima, Spartan Academy. I did my camp up here at Spartan Academy, and UFC Greenville. So thank you to all those guys for helping me especially this year, to get to where I'm at, and hopefully we get through the rest of the year nice and smooth.
There we go. Well, thank you so much for coming on again, Karl. Hopefully this fight goes through, and I look forward to seeing you with an awesome performance next Saturday on May 13th. Have a good one, my man.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Peace.
My pleasure.